divine source. And the raw material is well documented in a book, and the channeled material wanted to be known by Ra as a humble messenger of the law of one, which we do recognize. But some people like it and some don't, and that is up to you as far as whether people want to believe in anything. Are the words that are educational or give one insight. And, there's various groups that have formed, nonprofits, or have been shared in books. And at the same time, Carla L. Ruckert McCarthy in the early 1980s was very much into her spiritual life, and she is now passed over into our other dimension or other realm. But in her mind, she was able to step aside and allow energy of the universe to come through her. And she was the receiver while her husband, they weren't married at the time, I don't believe, Jim McCarty, but it's been a part of my life, not following the book, or Carla Ruckert or Don Elkins or Jim McCarty between 81 and 84, but introduced to her through a computer man, and this person took my and hers, and I guess they were no longer of use to us, and I don't know what became of our hard drives, but they were taken, and he intermixed us as being the same messengers from the same place and space, yet he didn't speak that language. He spoke strictly technical support for two women that were authors with stories, and I find that a funny coincidence in Kentucky that Carla and I wound up talking on a phone in Kentucky closer to before she was passing, and I will have to look that up as to her passing, but I'm here as I was from 1951 forward to do my job, but I always had a connection, as do many people, that translate energy that comes into their being as a resonance. And the L&L research group was, in the beginning, was Carla Ruckert, Don Elkins, and Jim McCarty. But if you go back into our UFO lore, which we also recognize as ufologists and UAP associates, is the fact that there's always been tales of extraterrestrials or aliens or UFOs. So that all became a high level of spiritual evolution for our individual souls, reportedly knowing that alien civilizations exist based on the fact that we are contacted and can see objects in space, lights and spacecraft not of Earth origin. And even though we're talking Juneteenth, this is a time of memory and remembering our past and our history around the world of all creations, all entities, all beings that have all the same talents as avatars in this game of life, and recognizing that all of us can help each other, and no one else but yourself can assist you with your higher self and consciousness. And we are the designers and developers of our own minds that allegedly is part of the conscious awareness. And how you collect your data or your intelligence or your downloads into your own transcriptions or your own channeled sessions of higher levels of spiritual evolution. That's why I was drawing your attention to Juneteenth and the Dropa stones, Dropa, excuse me if I misspelled that, DROPA stones of China. it all revolves into research teams and that information that one can find, because what all of us, including these beings I'm telling you about in the Love and Light organization or society or group, or however, because they don't really want to be thought of philosophically or religiously, they are the Love and Light. I believe, I don't even know if the L&L Foundation, I'll have to look it up myself. So those of you listening to me now realize that we have a road less traveled back towards the center of the Dropa stone disk over thousands of years. And the Dropa discs are simply one of the many artifacts left on the planet to remind us that some things are left to inspire curiosity, which is the mainstay of our existence and the whole entire universal order of things that keep us curious so we can up-level, with the theme of today's story, Up-Level Ascension Cosmos Oracles, Starpeople, ET, 5DXperiencers. So we may be making it 7 for evening, 8 to 10 actually in the future, based on the fact that we used to have the 8 to 10 Eastern spot. But I started on a Sunday here, and this is 2021, and tomorrow's Juneteenth. We want to celebrate a federal holiday for all beings, all that have been slaves in one way or another, whether mentally, physically, spiritually, or emotionally, to something outside of ourselves, or even if it was not real, because we are told that we only have to fear itself. And so when one is alone and only doing one's entire spiritual work, we say that we are on the inside, and yet we observe that which is on the outside. And many of us are thought of in a spiritual way, on a spiritual journey, ergo my radio shows are thought of in the category called spirituality. Now, I invite various paranormal, spiritual science, Pythagorean clan, those that study logic and reasoning, and we study and research the source of all creations and how words, the sounds and symbols become history we pass down to our children and cultures throughout the ages and epochs of time. So that is the theme of today's story as we study and research together in the future using cyberspace culture. And we have learned to use the voice, sound, symbols to corroborate and to collaborate and to coexist in cyberspace with various other citizens and various other cultures, forming one community in the cyberspace internet culture. And those that study the security of cyberspace in various places also deal with the entire world and their location above land or above ground and below sea level on the waters of the seas and oceans, and even some lakes high in the mountains. We have beings that come and go, and I think Shirley MacLaine made that famous on her spiritual quest when I was joining the military again or being put back into uniform, and my children and I watched her story. And she was very much on a path to learn about channels and those that could assist her. So we may find that those of us that resonate with each other will become friends, and people synergistically involved or in fellowships like Civitan International or the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, various groups, and a way to come together. And Philippe was what I called him from ancient of days, Coppins, coming back, had a lot to say, and really has, you can find him still alive on ancient history. Online was once a place for him, and that's how we discovered him. And then I saw him after I got to speak on Facebook and then know his wife and child, at least in social media. on Facebook, and we talked. He and his beautiful red-haired wife of Curiosity, and she became a friend of mine. At least we talked occasionally on Facebook, and that made me even more curious as to why he and I were working together in space and what one might call a spacecraft. But I must say that it was in full form a long spacecraft after he had passed from this reality, I believe, around Thanksgiving to Christmas. I'll have to look him up. But he is one of my friends in this reality, though I never remember meeting him in person, which I don't understand how he could be in my reality in another reality or in another plane of existence, but he is. And this is freeing me to share with you that he is alive and well above the planet and traveling. He was a Belgian writer, author, radio host, and commentator, and speeches were on television and appearances focused area. I'm going to read you what, after he has passed his Wikipedia, many people have gratefully put him in. His nationality was Belgian, Belgian on the planet, occupation, writer, journalist. So that is what I am considered, a writer, journalist. Known for alternative history and fringe science. In resting place, Court of Freedom, it says. Now, born January 25th, so I imagine he was an Aquarian, 1971. So he could have been my child in this reality because my daughter was born 68 to 74, 68, 70, August 13th or Friday 13th, 71 for Stephanie. And Ginger, who is now passed, was born January 27th, 1974. It was born St. Niklaus, died December 30th, 2012 in Los Angeles. Cause of death, angiosarcoma. His spouse, Kathleen McGowan, married 2011-2012. So that is the beautiful redhead that I had. She's an American author. Her novel, The Expected One, sold over 1 million copies worldwide and appeared in 50 languages. March 22nd, 1963 in Hollywood. So I'm sure that the Magdalene is what is in Surviving and Thriving for the Most Fascinating Woman in History, releasing Writer 2021 is a nonfiction historical and inspirational hybrid as only Kathleen McGowan can create. So you may want to look at her teachings. I would say that I, and Philippe have an interesting past life based on the fact that many of us go into the blue light and return. Or they say if you go into the white light, just like the ghost, and I met Patrick Swayze in this reality, and his mother, Patsy Swayze, taught dancing and ballet, and one of her friends introduced us, and I met Patrick also at a skating rink, the ice arena we had in the mall. I forgot the name of it, Galleria, I think that was it. But the New York best-selling author Kathleen McGowan and the star Jane Ashley, publisher of Flower of Life Press, are thrilled to announce the birth of a new publishing imprint, Ashera Press, Voices of the Divine Feminine. Now, releasing in December 2021 is The Magdalene Way by Kathleen McGowan. So nice that my channels, my guides have allowed me to find this because I didn't even know about it till just now. The Magdalene Way, Lessons in Surviving and Thriving for the Most Fascinating Woman from the Most Fascinating Woman in History. So the original and impactful book brings forward new knowledge of Mary Magdalene's teachings in France as a leader and activist, as a strong woman who changed the face of Europe. Also, single-handedly, the Magdalene Way brings to life her legend while exploring how the ancient heroine is an exceptional role model. Now, one might say that a memory of mine is of being the child of that woman, not as Christ, but as a man walked And there's said many Jesuses